because my English is
Mm.
difficult. Sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Sara. I'm living in Mexico. I'm 27 years old, and now I'm studying dentistry.
Dentistry.
And yeah.
Mm.
And another of the master of economy.
Mm.
Yeah. And what more is nice to me.
Okay. Please introduce your chapter for us.
Okay. Chapter is Saltillo. It's in the north of the Mexico. Is near Monterrey. We are 4 shepherds and 1 missionary.
Monterrey?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's in the Living Bernabé Show. Yeah.
And do you know missionary Joshua Bear?
Joshua Bear. Yeah, but he live in Puebla. He's in the south. Yeah. Yeah. Of the Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
Oriental doctor.
Oriental doctor. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. And Gloria, would you please introduce yourself for us?
Hello, my name is Gloria and I'm a middle school. I think that's all.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say.
Good. My daughter's name is Gloria as well. Wow, you are very hopeful, full of vision. Sylvia, would you please introduce yourself for us?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sylvia. I go to Cerritos UBF. I've been there for about 4 years now. And I am a college student and I'm studying dietetics or nutrition.
What is your future vision?
I don't know yet. To stay in the church? I don't know.
Yeah. Your shepherd is very proud of you.
Is she?
Thank you for coming.
That's nice to hear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Paul, would you please introduce yourself for us?
Yes. My name is Paul Park. I have been 4 years here in Mexico. I have just finished my 2nd year in high school and I still don't have a career.
Good. Wow. What kind of sports do you like?
Excuse me?
What kind of sports do you like?
I don't consider myself a very sportive person, but if I had to choose, I'll rather play basketball, volleyball, and a little bit of swimming.
Swimming? Good. Mexico is very famous for soccer. Yeah. Many times we lost the game in the Olympic game, World Cup games.
Right. The Mexican football team.
Yeah, Mexico. Good. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Wow, you are very diligent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for coming in late.
Yeah, it's a vacation, some vacation?
I don't think I have vacation. I mean, like normal only. Yeah.
Okay.
The summer vacations just got over. If that's
Got
what
over?
you're asking. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. We'll start. we'll share David's leadership too. Last week we shared David's leadership. Today we will study the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1 through 5. Through it, we want to learn David's spiritual leadership. Chapter 1, David's lament for Saul and Jonathan. Saul and his sons killed in the battle with the Philistines. The young Amalekite brought David the news of Saul's death, expecting a reward. He lied to David, saying that he had killed Saul. It was a lie. Saul committed suicide because he thought that if he might be killed by the Gentile soldier, it could be dishonorable. So he chose to commit suicide. But the Amalekite boy lied to David because if he say he killed Saul, and he might bring the head of Saul, David would be happy because he assumed that David hated Saul. Saul harassed David, so he assumed David might hate Saul. However, David did not hate Saul because the Lord had anointed Saul as a king, and Saul was David's father-in-law. Even though Saul hated David, Saul was jealous of David. David did not hate Saul. To the end, David wanted to embrace Saul and he wanted to help Saul. So when David listened to the news that Saul was killed in the battlefield, he was very sad, really. He did not pretend to be sad. Actually, he was very sad. And listening to the news that Saul was killed by Amalekite, who was the Gentile, he was very angry. So David made the Amalekite executed. Sarah, in India, if you were David, you listen to the news that Saul, who had pursued David, how could you respond about that? The enemy disappeared.
If I heard that the enemy had disappeared, what would I react? I think it will be more of joy or relief that I am now safe and not in trouble anymore.
Yeah. God punished him. God punished him. Yeah. I did not touch him. God punished him. Yeah. It's the will of God. Praise the Lord, we can say. And David could give the reward the Amalekite. However, David was very sad, and David ordered his soldiers execute the Amalekite boy. Yeah, really, David loved God, and David loved Saul, even though he hated David so much. Wow. We are studying of leadership. Yeah. Through this session, we want to learn what kind of a leader God has used in his redemptive history. It's very important. So, especially David was the shadow of Jesus Christ. Yeah. In this part, we can learn what aspect David's special attitude about the enemy's death.
I think this resounds with Jesus on the cross, and when he actually prays and is actually mourning, in a sense, for the people who have killed him. He says, "Please forgive them." And I think, because Jesus didn't ask God to punish them, he could have done that himself, but he did not. So I think that's a resonance there.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Jesus was crucified by the Roman soldiers, but Jesus did not pray that God may punish the Roman soldiers. Rather, Jesus prayed that God might forgive them because they did not know what they were doing. Wow, yeah. Through this, we can realize that David was a godly man, yeah. Take a look. Amalek, yeah. This is the Judah, and Amalek hated Israelites so much. When we read the book of Exodus, we can see chapter 15, Amalekites attacked Israelites just after Exodus. Yeah. And do you know Esther? There is Haman who tried to kill all the Israelites. Haman was Amalekite. Yeah. When we read Old Testament, we can realize that Amalekites tried to invade Israelites so much, many times. So Amalekites is the image of Satan. Yeah. David wrote a song of lament for Saul and Jonathan. David remembered great and noble things about Saul and Jonathan. Verse 23, we can see Saul and Jonathan were swifter than eagles and stronger than lions. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women. Yeah, really, David was really sorrowful, especially about the death of Jonathan. As we know well, Jonathan was very friendly to David. Yeah. Jonathan has a son, Mephibosheth. He was lame. And David told Mephibosheth to eat at his table always. David was searching for the remnants of Saul's family, especially Jonathan's son. So he realized that there is Mephibosheth. He was the lame, disabled, but David helped Mephibosheth to eat at his table always, which means David regarded Mephibosheth as his own son. Own son. Yeah, humanly speaking, Mephibosheth could be the grandson of his enemy, Saul. However, even though Saul regarded David as an enemy, David did not regard Saul as an enemy. Yeah. To the end, David embraced Saul's family members. Yeah. A leader who praises even enemies and remembers grace. Yeah, David was a leader who praises even enemies and remembers grace. Yeah. It's easy for us to praise others in front of them. However, it is not easy to praise others where the people is not there. Yeah. In front of them, we can praise and we can recognize them. But if they are not here, we can grumble, we can blame and speak bad of them. Yeah. It's very usual. However, David was different. Even though Saul and Jonathan and another son of Saul died, he was really sorrowful and he made lament. Wow. How can we learn about David's lament and David's taking care of Mephibosheth to the end, like his own son? Jasmine, can you share anything about that? David's attitude as a spiritual leader?
I think as a leader, he also had a very good shepherding heart towards others. And I think his love for God's people led him to take in Mephibosheth as his own son and help him even after the death of his father. So I think his respect for God's people and his shepherding heart, I think these two things were very important for him to love them despite their previous actions.
Yeah.
I think Gloria wants to say something.
Gloria?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, why did David praise Saul? Why did he say good things about him? I mean, he was trying to kill him.
Yeah, good question. Yeah. David, yeah, okay. Saul did evil. Huh? A lot of evils. Yeah, it's right. However, David tried to remember King Saul's strong points. Yeah, we know that Saul had made a lot of mistakes and sins before David, but when we read 1 Samuel precisely, we can realize that at first Saul did very well. He fought against enemies and he defeated enemies. Yeah, he was good at first. Because of jealousy, he became mad. So David tried to remember Saul's strong point. Wow, your question is very important, I think. When we estimate others, what aspect do we emphasize and yeah, think.
But
Usually,
why do we?
hmm,
But why do we? I mean, why do David think about his enemy's good points?
oh, because Saul was anointed by
Um,
God, and God used him anyway, and especially he is the son of, he is the father of Jonathan. Huh? Jonathan was his best friend. Yeah.
so he's having pity on him.
Yeah, pity on him. And yeah, okay, Paul.
No, I was just making a sign of approval, but now that you have my attention, I will speak more about this. I think that another thing that we can talk about is that David could have taken pity on Saul, because if we look back at how Saul was chosen, it was not that different from David. Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin, which was one of the smallest and humble ones, and so was David, the youngest of his family and just a humble shepherd. Despite both of them being humble, they were chosen by God to do great things. So I think that when he saw Saul, when he heard about how he was chosen, how he was anointed by God, he saw how he was chosen, and he thought it wouldn't be the right thing to hate or to kill someone who has been in the same conditions as him.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Saul's tribe was Benjamin. Huh? Benjamin was the smallest tribe. Yeah. By God's grace, he was chosen as a king, and he was the first king. Yeah. We think that to be a first king is glorious, but in other aspect, we can think that it's very difficult to make a foundation in the country. Yeah. So he suffered a lot. Yeah. We can see bad things in Saul, but he had struggled a lot to take care of his people and protect his people from enemies. Yeah. Anyway, David's attitude was extraordinary. Yeah, it's wonderful and awesome. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your comment. And First Samuel chapter 18, David and Jonathan, they loved each other. Jonathan gave the sword to David, and Jonathan was the prince, but he was not jealous of David. Do you know why? Jean, can you love, if you were David, Jonathan, can you love David, who was the rising star?
I think
He
I
could
would
be a
have,
potential enemy and rival.
yeah. I think it would have been hard to see him completely as just a friend. I would maybe have some lingering thoughts behind my head about maybe if he could betray me one day, or if he has ill intent. Yeah, I think I would have had doubts.
Yeah. Okay. You are very smart. I think that many of your classmates can jealous of you. Is right?
No.
Okay, David. David Kang. Do you have your David? Your best friend?
Maybe smaller, I guess.
Yeah. You are David, so you need Jonathan. Yeah. Unless there was Jonathan, David could not survive. Yeah. Several times King Saul ordered Jonathan to kill David. However, Jonathan was very angry about it. Jonathan tried to protect his best friend David somehow. Yeah. Wow. It's very wonderful. To be a good leader, we think that we have to power and wisdom and strong authority. But one of the most important thing is friendship. Friendship. Yeah. Yeah. For co-working. It's very important. Many of the leaders are very smart, but they are so self-centered and proud, so they cannot make friends. So in the end, they are isolated from the community, so they fail. But David had a best friend, and he was helped by Jonathan. Yeah. So I think that Jonathan was a great man, even though he was killed in the battlefield. But wow, he sacrificed himself to establish David's leadership. David's leadership. Yeah. In the movie contest, we are interested in the hero, main actor reward. But nowadays, another important reward is co-actor. Is right? Co-actor. Yeah. Do you know who got the reward this year? Academy Award co-actress. Do you know, Sarah? Do you know?
I don't know her name. She's that grandma from Minari.
Yeah, wow. Did you see the Minari?
Yeah, it's a really nice movie.
Oh, Minari. Wow. It's so moved. I saw her. Yoon Ye-jung, I saw her. I did not know her, but I saw her one time. Yeah. So nowadays we think that we are not Minari but missionary. Not Minari but missionary. Yeah, she's very famous now. Wow. In the first time in the Korean cinema history. Yeah. Most of the people want to be main actor. But God regards co-actors very preciously. Arpita, do you want to be actor or co-actor?
Backstage.
Backstage. Can you really?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Wow.
I would just work for whatever character suits for me.
Pardon?
I would just work for whatever character suits for me. The director's going to see something on my voice, something on my personality. So I'm going to let him do a decision. I don't really mind which role I would take.
Wow. Yeah, You're great. Yeah, it's very important. Our real director is God. Huh? We don't know who God will use, main actor or co-actors. Huh? In the movie, main actor is only one man. All of them are the co-workers and yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. In the God's history, we don't know where God will send, huh? In what area God will use. Paul, can you obey if wherever God may lead you in the future?
I feel like I'm ready to do whatever he may ask of me.
Wow. Yeah, you are like a Paul. Huh? You're Paul, Apostle Paul. Yeah. We have to be ready to obey because God is good. God is good, and God knows well rather than us. So it's very wise for us to obey. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we can learn friendship. Yeah. I think that a friend cannot be made naturally. We have to make efforts to making friends. Huh? Yeah, we have to invest our time, money to make friends. Yeah, Sylvia, are you many friends? I have many friends. Do you have many friends?
No. I have a close group of friends, though. Very precious.
In your ministry?
In my ministry and outside of him, outside of the ministry too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Jesus' disciples could not love each other because of rivalry, competing mind. But later, they became humble and they accepted each other very preciously, and they could have a very solid and strong community for the early Christian church. So it's very important to make friends. Yeah. David was not interested in being a king. I think that David was very great because he was interested in making his country peaceful. Yeah, his concern was that first. Yeah, it is his greatness, I think. Chapter 2, David was anointed king over Judah, only Judah, tribe Judah. Saul died, so David could be king of Israel, but he prayed. What should I do? He prayed. He did not calculate. He did not think. He prayed to the Lord, seeking God's direction. God led him to go to Hebron in Judah. God did not tell him to go to Jerusalem and grip the power over Israel. God led him to go to Hebron in Judah. Okay, take a look. It is the Hebron. Hebron. David belongs to Judah. Saul belongs to Benjamin. And even though Saul died, most of the people belong to the Saul's tribe. Yeah, 10 tribes belong to Saul's line. So it is the Bethlehem, the hometown of David, and Hebron. God told David to go to Hebron, not to Jerusalem. In order to grip the power, we think that he should go to the Jerusalem because Jerusalem is the center. But Hebron is the opposite place. What do you think about that? Why do you think God told David not to go Jerusalem, but to go to Hebron? Why?
I think it's because if he went to Jerusalem, since it's the center of attention, all Israelites would come to him, and I think the reason he didn't want him to go there was because there might be a chance that he might fall into pride and become a king for himself and the Israelites, but not a king for God. So he took him to a place away from that, probably to clear his mind, or because someone else would already try to go to Jerusalem anyway.
Yeah.
I also think that was a period of testing for Saul to see if, now that for David.
Will you speak loudly? Yeah.
I also think that it was a period of testing for David because now that Saul was dead, I think he obviously had like a clear victory, but like I think it was like, would he still abide by God's timing and by God's plan, or would he, move in? Because he has a way now. He can go to Jerusalem. Nobody's going to stop him, but so I think that was a testing period for David.
Yeah. Saul failed because King Saul failed due to his impatience. According to 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 9, when the Philistines attacked Israel, Saul had to fight. Before he wanted to give offering to the Lord, and he waited for prophet Samuel. But Saul did not wait. So Saul gave offering himself. It was wrong. The offering can be done only by the priest, but he was impatient. He gave offering to the Lord instead of priest. So God was so angry, and God was not pleased with him. Yeah. As Arpita mentioned, on the contrary, David was patient. David did not try to be a king early. Yeah, he waited. God tested David. Yeah, I think that God tested Saul, even though in the desperate situation, if he had a faith, he could wait. But Saul did not trust in God. He gave offering. Yeah, even though he knew that it is illegal before the law. Yeah. So I think that God tried to test David in his deep heart. If he had political ambition, he rationalized himself to go to Jerusalem oh, there's no king. This country needs a king, a leader. I should. He could rationalize. However, God gave direction to David to go to the Hebron. It's a small city, and he should be ready more. We think that David had been ready enough under the training, in the desert training. Yeah, he had been chased by Saul. He was harassed by Saul. It could be enough. But God thought he needed more patient training. Yeah. So God led David to the Hebron. Yeah. So David spent 7 years in Hebron. 7 years. 7 years. Yeah. He waited for God's time. From time to time, we are too hasty. Especially Korean people, hurry up, hurry up. Korean slogan is hurry up, quickly, quickly. Yeah, my character is, it's hurry up, fast, fast. But if I hurry up, I can hinder God's schedule, God's plan sometimes. So we have to wait for God's time. Sometimes it's too long. It's too long. Jasmine, how about your plan? And yeah, I think that it's not easy for you to wait. Arpita came to Korea very early, but you have to wait. How about you?
I think I sent in my application for the PhD program in April. And it's been, I think, 2.5 months already. The results are coming next week. So I think the long wait is almost over. It wasn't easy to wait for so long, but I think I just tried my best not to think too much about it.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully I'll see Arpita.
Okay, we have been praying for you.
Thank you.
Anyway, patient training is not easy. Patient training. Okay. Take a look this diagram. House of Saul. Saul, King Saul, he had 4 sons. First Jonathan, second Abinadab, third Ishbosheth. And in the battlefield, Saul and his first son Jonathan and his second son Abinadab were killed. And Ishbosheth, the third son, remained. When Saul died, Saul's cousin Abner established Saul's third son Ishbosheth as a king. Yeah. Look at this. Yeah. Saul and Abner. Abner is who? Abner is nephew of Saul. Yeah. So Abner did not accept David because David belongs to Judah. So even though Saul died, Abner wanted to establish the Benjaminite kingship. So he raised up Saul's third son, Ishbosheth, as a king. He became a commander-in-chief. And Ishbosheth was a king. However, Abner has power practically. Yeah. Behind Ishbosheth, Abner wanted to control the king. He's a very political man. So when we read chapter 2, there was the struggle between Abner and who? Joab. Joab is the nephew of David. Abner was the nephew of Saul. David appointed Joab as the commander-in-chief. Ishbosheth appointed Abner as the commander-in-chief. So Joab and Abner struggled a lot. Yeah, they competed in power. So in chapter 2, there was the fighting. And Abner killed Joab's brother, Asahel. So they hate each other. It's a power struggle. We can realize that at the time, there was the power struggle. And Abner realized that David was getting stronger while Saul's son Ishbosheth was getting weaker and weaker. And Abner slept with Saul's concubine. Yeah, it was probably politically motivated. At the time, to sleep with king's concubine means that he has the power. He has the power. Yeah. When Ishbosheth accused him, why do you sleep with my father's concubine? But Abner became very angry. Do you regard me as a dog? That dog? They fight each other. They quarrel each other, and Abner was very angry. So Abner tried to transfer his allegiance to David. So he visited David. Abner wanted to bring the Benjaminites into David's camp. David wanted to embrace Abner in order to unification of whole Israel. But Joab hated Abner because Abner had killed his brother Asahel, and Joab was jealous of Abner. So Joab killed Abner. Wow. Do you know why Joab killed Abner? The main reason is that Abner killed Joab's brother Asahel. But the more important reason is that if there is the unification, he thought that Abner could be in commander-in-chief. So he politically calculated. Gloria, do you have a question?
Why did they fight like this?
Show your face, Gloria.
Okay. Well, why did they fight in the battle? I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah. Wow. Your question is good.
Am I asking so much?
Yeah. Yeah. Good students has a lot of questions. They want to expose their power. They want to reveal their power. So let's gather together and fight. Yeah. We want to play soccer. Please gather together and take a match. For what? Well, we are better than you, so we will reveal our skill. Likewise, at the time, through battle, they wanted to reveal their power. So after Saul's death, there was absence of leadership. Absence of leadership. So who will grip the power? Yeah, they calculated, and politically they struggled a lot. So Abner and Joab was very political men. So they fought each other and killed. Yeah, and there was the power struggle between Joab and Abner. Even though David tried to unify the country, Joab and Abner were not interested in the unification and cooperation. They were interested in their own position. Yeah. So Joab killed Abner. Yeah. It was very sad to David.
And also, why did Asahel chase Abner?
Oh,
He chased and then he got
yeah.
killed.
Good question. Yeah, Asahel was confident of his power. I am best. I am very good in using weapon. Yeah, so even though Abner warned, he did not obey. So he was killed. I think that Asahel was too young. So he was killed anyway. Yeah. Yeah. David wept aloud at Abner's tomb. David was a real shepherd for all Israelites. Before the death of Saul and Jonathan, David wept. And at Abner's tomb, David wept aloud as well. Yeah. David was a real shepherd for all Israelites. Watching that, all the people were pleased with David. Oh, David is a real king. Some people misunderstand that David probably ordered Joab to kill Abner. But through David's weeping, all the people could realize, oh, Joab did, and David did not order. So all the people understood David's pure heart. Yeah. So all the people were pleased with David. Yeah, take a look. Jesse's son. Yeah, so many sons. And David was the seventh son. Who is Joab? David's sister's son, Joab. And Asahel is the Joab's brother, like that. Yeah. So they are relatives. And when we see the Samuel and First Kings, we can realize Joab is a very political man. Even though he was very loyal to David at first, but later he made a plot for coup d'etat. So he was very wicked, and he was killed finally. He was punished. So when we see the book of Samuel and Kings and Chronicles, we can meet a lot of people. Yeah, so many people. Okay. And chapter 4, Ishbosheth was murdered. The house of Saul became too weak to lay claim to any part of the kingdom. Rahab and Baana were leaders who had served Ishbosheth. They realized that Ishbosheth was losing the power. So they calculated and they murdered Ishbosheth while he was lying on his own bed. They cut off Ishbosheth's head and brought it to David, bragging about what they had done. They expected a reward from David. They made a big mistake about David. David was not a political man. David trusted in God, who delivered him from his enemies. David had not lived according to his ambition. David had lived by faith. He fundamentally trusted in God, who delivered him from his enemies, and he believed that God will lead his life. So he followed. He feared the Lord. He did not have political ambition. He did not seek personal vengeance, no matter how much he had done wronged. He had the two murderers executed, just as he had executed the man who claimed to have killed Saul. Yeah. Through this, we can realize that David was not greedy. Before the power, David was not greedy. King Saul failed due to greed. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 9. Do you know the story? Can you share 1 Samuel chapter 15? The Israelites, they had to fight against Amalekites. Samuel ordered Saul to kill all the Amalekites and even animals. However, Saul did not obey. Saul made very good animals live in order to use them, but he made an excuse. I left the animals in order to give offering to the Lord. It was a lie. He was greedy. However, David was not greedy before the power. He did not accept the opportunists who killed Saul and Ishbosheth. Yeah. Rather, David ordered the soldiers ordered the opportunists executed. Yeah. Wow. David was a pure shepherd. In the chaos, there are so many opportunists. They want to make use of the opportunity for their own benefits. They calculate. The Amalekites boy and Baana and someone they killed, Ishbosheth. Wow. But David did not allow. If David allowed them and accept them, what do they happen? Sarah, if David allowed that opportunities, what do they happen?
I think he would allow a breeding ground for greed among his people,
Yeah.
and to take advantage of the weak, if he allowed it to happen.
Yeah. Continually, the opportunists surely ask for something. I gave something for you, so please listen to me. Yeah, they will ask more and more. So David could not but compromise with them that they can be, it can be a snare. So David quit. Exactly. So David waited for God's time. David was very clean to the end until God might raise him as a king. Yeah. So I think that all of them is the God's testing. Yeah. So David passed the test, God's test. I think that all of us are tested by God through a lot of happenings and a lot of things. Yeah. God is checking our deep hearts, and who do I raise up? Spiritual man of God. God is searching for our hearts. Those who had been loyal to Saul went to David. Finally, it took a long time for those who belonged to Saul went to David. David waited for long time. God had tested David's heart for many years. Yeah. Can you share anything about that, God's testing and for the pure heart? Anyone else? Do you feel God's testing of your heart, or impatience and pure heart is very important? When do you feel it's important to have pure heart and waiting attitude? It's very hard. Jose, are you busy?
Yes, that's good. Not so much. Yeah.
Can you share anything God's training for David?
Yeah, I like how you said that David was tested by God. He was raised up by God, and he passed many times. So I know that God sometimes tests me, and sometimes I fail, or sometimes I pass. But it's important to persevere. To do as well.
Okay, thank you. David, you are a David. You are David. What do you think God is testing you?
I think some of God's commands are harder to obey than others. So, I think sometimes he tests me by seeing whether I can obey him fully.
Okay. When will you go to Queensland?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks later?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can be free from your parents. I think then it is the testing time. You have to stand before the Lord independently. Yeah, it's a desert training, like David, I think. Yeah. We don't like a training. We want to be raised up quickly, and we want to be popular quickly. We want to gain a lot of things quickly. But it is very dangerous to be famous quickly. I have seen a lot of celebrities who got a popularity too early and collapsed down. Yeah. So we have to please God somehow, regardless of our reputation or position. It's important. Gloria, what is your vision?
I think being tested by God may be scary because what if you fail? But I think it's also an honor to be tested because being tested, you keep on growing. Then, like God loves us. That's why He tests us so that we can grow. Right?
Wow, wow, you are so mature. Good. Yeah.
But still, it's kind of scary.
Good. Okay. Wow. All of you are great. And chapter 5, David became king over Israel. When God's time came, finally, all the people of Judah and Israel acknowledged David as their own king. Yeah. David was appointed by God to be a shepherd of God's people. A shepherd is not a tyrant. Yeah. David made an environment in which people can prosper and be happy. He didn't want to make himself be happy. He made every effort to make people happy. Yeah, he was a good shepherd. He went to Jerusalem. He reigned in Jerusalem. He became a king. He got a power. And when we read chapter 5, Philistines invaded Judah. Yeah, David could fight with his own wisdom. However, David inquired of the Lord, Lord, what should I do? There was the two battles, but David prayed to the Lord twice. God helped David to defeat Philistines. God gave David strategies. David obeyed God's direction. So David could defeat Philistines. Yeah. His position became different. He became a king. He could all things arbitrarily with his own will. However, he prayed. Even though he became a king, he was God's sheep as well, always. Regardless of human position, spiritually, he was the servant of God. So he prayed to the Lord continually. Yeah. Let's look at this map, taken map. Yeah, it is the Hebron, it's the Jerusalem. David spent 7 years and 6 months in Hebron, and finally he went to the Jerusalem. Yeah. In Jerusalem, David reigned Israel for 33 years. 33 years. Yeah. Take a look this map. Judah, Benjamin. Yeah. Saul belongs to Benjamin. David belongs to David, the Judah, and yeah, the 10 tribes belong to Saul, but 7 years later, all the tribes welcomed David as a king. Yeah, David had waited for that time. Yeah, it was great. David knew that God had established him as king so that he could be the shepherd of God's people, not tyrant, the shepherd of God's people. For David, the kingship was not an opportunity to indulge in personal pleasure. David reigned over all Israel and Judah for 33 years in Jerusalem. There had been a lot of opportunities. However, David sought for God's glory, so David did not compromise with opportunities. David was God-centered man, God-centered leader. Yeah. Okay. We have studied 2 Samuel chapter 1 through 5. I mentioned a lot. Okay, we want to share something one by one from Paul.
Actually, I wanted to say that since God has created all of us, He knows well our strengths and weaknesses, and that's why to all of us our testing can feel different. For instance, in my case, my weaknesses are pride and lack of tolerance. I have exceeded well academically at school. I always had good grades. This caused me to be so arrogant towards my other classmates, and I simply wouldn't be able to work in teams or even ask for advice to other people. That's what resulted in lack of tolerance. I wasn't able to have patience with them. If they made a mistake or they didn't remain quiet, I would be mad. God showed me that this wasn't the right thing to do. My slow time of success when I was so arrogant was beginning to turn into failure. I began to feel very, very anxious. I overanalyzed everything. I distrusted all of my teammates, and that's when I realized that the only way to continue is by not criticizing other people and start working on fixing yourself, taking up being more humble and understanding that it's hard to get people to get along. And ever since then, my life has been growing better and richer. That's why I believe that it's important to know each other, because God knows you very well, and He'll test you based on your weaknesses and your strengths.
Okay, thank you. Wow, great. And Jasmine?
I think from today's study, I think I was able to think about how different it is what are the differences between worldly leaders and spiritual leaders guided by God. I think more than being power hungry and becoming politically ambitious, I think as spiritual leaders, it's important to trust God more than anything else. And I think studying about David gave me a lot of sort of like a small example about how Jesus was. Jesus was the Son of God and the Lord, the true King, the Prince. And yet when He came to us, He was a leader who served us. So I think when I think about these two things, David and Jesus, how despite being kings, they were shepherds of the people, and they loved God's people and they served God's people. I think I want to learn from that kind of example, and to have that kind of heart that can serve others. Also, I think I learned a lot about how important it is to wait for God's timing, God's direction, and to be patient. I'm usually a very impatient person. Even at home or in college, I get very impatient when someone talks too slowly. So I know that this is a very big limitation of mine, but still I felt like God has been training me throughout these years. And during the second wave of COVID-19 in India, I had to leave my job and I had to come back to my home to be with my parents. And during this time, I think I was able to spend this time serving my parents and loving them and being with them. And this whole time, I felt that God was helping me to become a person who learns how to serve others. That's what I learned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, good. Jean?
I think what I learned from studying David's leadership and his process of becoming a leader is that when God has a strong vision for someone and for everyone, he realizes that vision if they listen and they are obedient and patient with him, especially with David's case. Politically speaking, it was maybe impossible for him to become a king of Israel and to have all of the other tribes on his side, because as we studied, all of the other tribes were on Saul's side and they were not on David's side. But at the end, after 7 years, we could see that they were united and they were on David's side because he waited patiently, and also he didn't give in to the to the intrigues of the opportunist people that just wanted to use him as a tool and gain power. Even with all those things, David stayed true to God and didn't get distracted by the opportunistic people or other things that happened. The death of his close friend Jonathan. He didn't lose faith and he stayed true in God. Also, I think maybe he could have had some fear too, but he still remained a good shepherd. He cried for his enemies, even for his enemies, and he's also good to his own. He's good to his own people. He's a good shepherd. So that I think that's a big lesson to stay obedient and to always listen and stay close to God's following.
Okay, thank you. Great. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm here. So I think what I have learned from at least today's David passage is David's patience, especially waiting for the right time, for God's
Mm.
timing. And also it struck me how God used like what I see as what one might see as weakness, but as a good thing for David. And I think what really, because I am also not a very patient person, and I have had had or still have a little bit of a proud heart, and I can be a little like cold that way towards others, and my expectation of them is pretty high. But I think coming back home and I've been and starting PhD has made me look at my own weaknesses, and that has, even though it has made my weakness a spotlight in my life these days, I feel it is the way God is using me to like humble me to be more patient and kind to others, and be more understanding. So like learning of David's patience and how God tested him in multiple ways, and it might look like weakness from an enemy's point of view of like not killing your enemy or not rejoicing in your enemy's defeat, but instead God used his weakness as a strength that could win over the people's heart in the future, and then become the king of Israel. So I feel that way right now is my testing period to soften my heart towards others, and to not take my weakness as a weakness, but as God's opportunity for me to grow more in him. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, David.
So studying the way that David didn't scheme politically, but just trusted in God. I think I learned that I shouldn't try to make my own plans, that I don't to what God says, but simply obey fully what God says. And also, sometimes I find it difficult to love others. I think it's much easier to love others when you think about their best points other than their weaknesses.
Okay, thank you. Sylvia?
One thing that really stood out to me was just how, despite David having a lot of things, like being a king and having all of these experiences, this accumulated wisdom, and like this great nation, he wasn't fazed by it, and he retained his identity as God's shepherd and one of his sheep. He remained humble through all of that, and he was still very obedient to God, remembering that he is not above God despite being a king in the world. So I just think that's extremely admirable. And another thing that I really liked was just how he really is just like Jesus in being a good shepherd. They're both good shepherds. They both have pure hearts. They are both so merciful and forgiving towards their enemies, and they're both extremely obedient to God, very humble people. And it just makes me think that there's not a lot of those kinds of examples in this world today. So that just shows how great they are and how difficult it is to be that kind of leader. But it's still possible because they were able to do it with God, So to me, I kind of see this as a future that I would love to have, to be a good shepherd like them, and not be fazed by any of these enemies that I may have, spiritual or physical enemies, but just remain steadfast in the Lord. It's a great goal.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alpita.
I think today's study was just very humbling. It just baffles me how humble David is, and just the value that he places in human life. I think the fact that, you know, he knows and he's very aware of the fact that, you know, people's lives aren't in his hands and that they're all in God's hands, and that God is the only one who can decide who dies and who lives, you know. And I think he's very, I think that was just very touching in the sense that he knows, you know, he's given up everything to God, and he knows that nothing is his to begin with. And I think that was very humbling, because he is the king of Israel, you know, and probably one of the most loved kings, and yet he's so humble. And I also learned, you know, that patience is really key, because I don't think David would have become such a loved king had he, you know, followed his own plans. And so I think that because I am a very anxious person and I love planning ahead. I'm like, I need to know everything. I need to know what I'll be doing in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Like, it needs to be laid out for me, right? But I think I've just learned to just obey God, and because he does know me best. I don't know my future, and I don't know what I need, but I do know that he knows what I need, and he will get me where he wants to get me in his time. And I think that's what I learned today as well. I also, it's the love that David has for his sheep and for Israel that really struck me, because it's really hard to love people, and it's very easy to judge them because of all the things that they've done to you, or maybe to the ones you love. And so I think it really taught me that I need to take a step back and look at the good things at people, in people around me, because I am having quite a hard time loving people at my workplace. So so I think this was a very good reminder.
Thank you. Thank you. Jose.
Yeah, I like that David was very humble too. You know, and you said that Saul you know, had a jealousy, and I think that was just you know, that was what led to so many things. So you know, I think like me personally, like I can get jealous too for whatever reason, and that can, instead of humbling myself and being obedient to God. So I really want to learn from David and just apply it how he saw people differently, rather than what as anything else. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Gloria.
Is there any key verse in this message? Is there a key verse?
A key verse? Oh, I will send later. Wow, you are very spiritual. Okay, let's take a picture for Andy. Jasmine, can you take a picture? Smile and take a picture. Yeah, smile.
Okay.
Big smile.
1, 2, 3.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I will pray. Heavenly Father, thank God for blessing today's session. We have learned that David's impatience and tolerance and purity. Heavenly Father, thank God for blessing our growing young generations. They are very hopeful before the Lord. They are so precious to the Lord. Please bless each of them so that they learn Jesus and learn David's heart to be future great leader, so that they may be used in God's redemptive history. Thank you all this. I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Next week.